I'm going to break this portion of the Roland Martin show, his initial portion, up into various segments because each deserves its own hearing. In this segment, it has to do with Donald Trump being a racist, that not disavowing David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan, and how he treated a bunch of protesters at one of his rallies. So I'm going to play the clip now and then stop and then comment on it.
2 days after Donald Trump refuses to answer a question put to him by CNN's Jake Tapper, we continue to have this constant back and forth as to whether or not it's a big deal. Really? How is Donald Trump, the leading candidate on the Republican side, who wants to play the game of, oh my goodness, my earpiece wasn't working. That's why I didn't quite hear the question, even though he repeated the question back to Jake Tapper. This has been going on back and forth again as relates to David Duke, former KKK leader, endorsing Donald Trump for president. This is Trump discussing the issue.
What I heard was various groups, and I don't mind disavowing anybody, and I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference, which is surprising because he was at the major news conference, CNN was at the major news conference, and they heard me very easily disavow David Duke. Now I go and I sit down again, I have a lousy earpiece that is provided by them, and frankly, he talked about groups, he also talked about groups, and I have no problem with disavowing groups.
You talk about a bullshit answer.
Oh, well.
You mean to tell me, Trump, you're blaming this. You're blaming this as the reason why you could not disavow David Duke on CNN. Really? That's what you're blaming. All right. Senator Marco Rubio, one of Trump's Republican opponents, he's not buying the excuses from Trump.
I don't care how bad the earpiece is, Ku Klux Klan comes through pretty clearly, and he refused to criticize it. How are we going to elect, how can someone like that be our nominee?
Former governor of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney, who was the GOP candidate in 2012, tweeted the following, quote, "A disqualifying and disgusting response by real Donald Trump to the KKK. His coddling of repugnant bigotry is not in the character of America." At Trump's rally yesterday in Virginia, protesters disrupted the event. They chanted Black Lives Matter as they were escorted out. Trump then fired back from the podium.
Oops. Now, you could easily see that those were black people, okay, chanting Black Lives Matter, which, you know, Trump is, you know, he's going to be an asshole here and start screaming all lives matter, which is bullshit. All lives do matter, but Black Lives Matter is part of all lives, and if you don't recognize and respect Black lives, how can you respect and recognize all lives? But anyway, we're going to continue. And then what further pissed me off is he further race baited because you could clearly see that they were black people, and then he asked them if they're Mexicans.
You can hear it once. All lives matter. All lives matter.
I guess you hear it twice.
Get them out. Are you from Mexico? Are you from Mexico? Huh? Are you from Mexico?
Now, at that same rally, there was more violence when a U.S. Secret Service agent choke-slammed a photographer to the ground. According to reports, the photographer with Time Magazine, a White House photographer, was trying to exit the press pen to take a photo. Not only that, folks, here's what's interesting. Numerous hosts on Fox News actually have been defending Donald Trump. Bill O'Reilly said, "This is much to do about nothing." Then on the show at 5 p.m. on Fox, Juan Williams blasted Donald Trump. But then the other host said, "Oh my goodness, you're making a big deal out of this. What about Robert Byrd, a U.S. senator from West Virginia who used to be in the KKK?" the same guy who disavowed being in the KKK, but Donald Trump couldn't disavow. Let me also help y'all out. Remember, they were at a news conference on Friday when Trump was asked the question. He went, "Okay, I disavow." That's actually how he said it. But now you're blaming the earpiece. Really? So in 2016, there's a black man in the Oval Office, and all of a sudden, we were having an actual debate as to whether or not you should disavow. Let's go to our panel. Dr. Chris Metzler, conservative strategist, Republican. Big time, man. How you doing?
How you doing?
He's like, you had to call me Republican today, huh? Dr. Ava Jones-Dweeb, the leadership strategist on Exceptional Leadership Institute for Women. Dr. Cleo Monago, behavioral health expert, CEO of Black Men's Exchange. All right, folks, it is hilarious to watch Trump supporters perform gymnastics in trying not to criticize him and to hold him accountable. This is utterly hilarious. Chris, no doubt Donald Trump is playing to that significant, some say small, I should say significant, portion of the electorate who are flat out bigots and racists.
Correct. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be a Trump apologist because he goes out and he says, oh, my earpiece isn't working, yet he repeats the question, as you indicated. And looking at the rally yesterday, then he says to the group of black folks who've been taking out, were you born in Mexico? If he is not race baiting, I don't know who is. And in this particular case, Donald Trump and the party really ought to be ashamed of itself for his behavior. He's not qualified to be president. That's clear.
Well, Trump is really being very strategic here. We might not want to admit it, but he's being very strategic. He's on the eve of Super Tuesday, where you have a big boatload of southern states voting. He knows exactly who is at the core of his demographic. It's the very demographic that he's been really pitching to throughout his entire campaign, and that is that significant segment of America that still is very bigoted. The reality is that every time in our history when we've had black advancement, it's also been closely followed by white backlash, and this is just what we're seeing, I believe, as a backlash to a black presidency.
I agree. And I keep laughing because it's surreal that all these people in the Republican Party, these white men who are racist in many cases, are spanking Donald Trump for siding with the KKK, and they're calling him bigots, and then Romney just said that he's not being American. And this country is racist as heck. I said heck. And the people that are in these positions, particularly the whites in the Republican Party and some of the blacks too, are traditionally dismissive of black lives and black people. And so this is all just interesting to watch this spectrum of white supremacy and how people are trying to disassociate from the Klan because it's politically incorrect right now. And like you said, the populace is supporting Trump.
And here's the deal. Here's Trump's brand. Trump's brand is, I don't apologize for anything. I'm not backtracking from anything. I don't care what anybody says. And people go, that's right. He's speaking truth. He's not PC. But this is a guy who wants to be president of the United States. And what does that say? Not only that, on the same day all this is going on, Jeff Sessions of Alabama, he comes out and endorses Donald Trump. The CEO of NASCAR, Brian France, comes out, and I'm going, really? You're proud to stand next to this guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, just so that you know, a little history on Jeff Sessions. Way back when, early in Jeff Sessions' career, before he was elected to Congress, he was a judge in the state of Alabama. Ronald Reagan put him up, or put his name in nomination to be a federal judge. He was shot down by, of all people, Ted Kennedy for his making racial remarks and his racial attitude, including telling black people that they need to learn how to talk to white people. So he didn't make it to the federal bench, thank God, but the state of Alabama did elect him to Congress, and he continues to serve in Congress representing the state of Alabama to this day. And even he, being the racist that he is, recognized that Donald Trump needed to back off of the stupidity that he's illustrating, one, by not disavowing David Duke, and I mean giving a true disavowalment, not okay, I disavow bullshit. And two, basically shooting down the KKK and denouncing them as well.
Well, like she's saying, I mean, in my opinion, and I agree with you, I'm just restating what was already said, that people want to make up for Obama. They want to make up for that black man being in that position for 8 years, and they have to endure that. And now they're having an extreme reaction to that to try to make up for that black man being there and replacing him with something that's antithetical to him. And you can't get no more pathetical and antithetical to him than Donald Trump.
Hey, Shelley, do this for me. Shelley, go to my iPad, please, because I just thought this was just too hilarious here. As I watch the folks, look, we having some issues here. Okay, there we go. So I need y'all to hear this discussion on Fox News. Go ahead. I want y'all to hear this conversation they were actually having, which I thought was pretty fun.
Denounced the KKK was ridiculed.
Okay, here we go.
And that really came from popular culture. And Donald Trump is in a perfect position now, if he chose, to further ridicule them and snuff out the hate. And he has an opportunity to do that. He will no doubt be asked this again, maybe not here, but other places. And let's not kid ourselves that in the general election, would this be an issue that the Democrats are going to push and push on? Yes, it might not be fair to what the points that you just made, but let's not kid ourselves, that is coming.
Final thought on this? Well, Senator Byrd was in the United States Senate and long ago stopped being involved with the KKK.
He was a wizard, right? Or was he a dragon?
No,
he was a member.
He was a member. Long ago.
This is
back in the 30s, and we're talking about something far forth. And you know, this idea of the new Black Panther Party, my God, let me get the new Black Panther Party is intimidating, scaring people, setting houses on fire.
No, they're intimidating people at the voting booth.
No, it's not. I think white people do that. One's like the other. No, Jesse.
All right, well, let's move on. The latest poll.
All right, so that was Warren Williams trying to get a word in edgewise. So it's interesting, they made a reference to the new Black Panther Party. Well, we're actually going to have the chairman of the new Black Panther Party right here in about 25 minutes. And so, hey, Jesse Waters at Fox, you might want to watch that interview.
Yeah, I mean, I got to start really jumping into Fox because those motherfuckers, they can twist and turn any particular subject, but again, this is basically ridiculous. But you reap what you reap what you sow. So now the Republicans are going to have to live with this. But a lot of people are basically saying that Donald Trump is basically going to destroy the Republican Party.